Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon and by your tips and memberships on Coffee. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation. Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I am your host, Justin D. Morgan, and it is a balmy, well, it was a balmy 50 degrees Fahrenheit on the dot at 50 degrees humidity. Thank you, temperatures, for increasing. Those numbers are not nice round numbers anymore. Don't know what that is in metric. But I do know who is in the chat. We have Jack68K, who I apparently surprised when I posted my thumbnail. He did not know I had a 512. Well, I was saving it for Macintosh, but then 40th anniversary? Oh well, Macintosh will just have another surprise. We have Kibbs with Retro. Hey Kibbs, we have Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack. Hi Jeremy. I think I need to reply to your text message that I saw and then got busy. I'll get to that as soon as I can. We have Rutk Mods, who, congratulations for reaching 12,000 subscribers. Yes, I know, I had my stream scheduled on like January 1st or January 2nd, so here I am. I'm live. We have Adam McG. Yes, hello nerds. Yes, hello nerds. And hello Adam McG. We have Tom Armstrong. Greetings. We have Jesse I8386SX, who is reminding me that I'm late. However, hashtag just in time. We have Adam's asking, where's my burrito? I can't help you there. We have put a 512K in that burrito. Actually, maybe that's what the vent on the top of my 512K is. It's a burrito heater. Jack68K. I have a plus. I don't have a 512K. I like the history, but I think if I were to get an older Mac than the plus, I'd try to find the original 128K. Yep, fair. We have Garth Beagle. Hi, Garth. Adam McG says, I have 3 128s, 2 512s, and like 5 pluses. Well, that does not surprise me, Adam. We have, yes, people noticing I rolled the logo. Yay. Jeremy's, if only there was a game with this theme music. Well, YouTube doesn't have that yet, but if they do implement a feature where I can put a game during the credits, well, I'll take advantage of it. Assuming I have time to implement it. Let's see here. The chat scrolled here. Let's see here. Oh, we have 2K compliant. Hello, 2K. We have yeah, Adam probably has us all beat, Jack. That's probably for sure. Kibbs with Retro is calling me out on my comment. I have 1.5 pluses. You didn't see my live stream Tuesday, did you? That was a joke on the fact that the shell is all like busted up on that plus. So I have 1.5. I thought I was kind of tempted to split hairs and say like 1 3/4, but nah, no need to split hairs there. The humidity outside will split hairs enough. Jeremy says you can never have too many vintage computers. Or in the case of Steve, too many printers to hold your basement up. Let's see here. Adam says, turn on some Power Mac G5s to heat the basement. Tom Armstrong says, G5 heating. Jack says, just don't turn on any liquid-cooled Power Mac G5. Yeah, I don't need a Dextron leak in the basement, just the heat. 2K compliant. According to Just in Time, he's early. Jeremy, I have 2 burritos in my freezer I no longer want. It might be stale by the time they got to Adam. Jesse says, I may feel like I've been hit by a truck, but that won't stop me for being a smart mouth. Kibbs with retro. A water-cooled Mac G5 is the easiest way to test how reliable your breakers are. Truth there. Adam McG says, Jack was asking how many 2Cs Adam has. Adam has 11 2Cs and a single 2C plus. Yes. Da, da, da. Jeremy says, I have a way to fix those liquid cooled G5s. Hi, Frank S. Yes. Frank, I did get your Discord message. The wheels in my brain are spinning. That's all I'm going to say. All right, let's see here. Channel announcements. I have a coffee goal, and well, the link's in the description. I also, thanks to me posting something silly in the You Can't Be Serious Discord thread on the Macintosh Friends of a mystery box that showed up on Facebook Marketplace, Garth and Martin chipped in to make sure I go buy both of them, because it turns out they had 2 mystery boxes, and the hint is there's digital items in them. So luckily, I figured out a way to go pick those up on the way to Chris's house on the long way around to Chris's house. But thank you, Garth, for feeling bad and chipping in a little extra to pay for a little extra gas, because it is the long way around, but it sure beats making a separate trip on Sunday to go pick them up. So it's a win. But yes, so next week I'll have some mystery boxes to unbox, because everyone likes a good mystery box unboxing. Retrotech Chris. Hey, Retrotech Chris. He's like, what did I miss? Yeah. I'm going to, when I come up to your house tomorrow evening/night, because I think technically it'll be night by the time I get there, I'm coming by means of Broadway, Virginia. And for those of you that don't know where Broadway, Virginia is, it's not, from my house, it's not exactly on the way, but I can detour to there and use the interstate to get to Chris's house. So it's actually really easier to just go do that tomorrow evening on the way than to make a separate trip. So luckily the interstates are good, and by the time I pick those mystery boxes up in Broadway, which is along Interstate 81, I can then go on up and cut across 66, and Bob's your uncle. Unless Bob's not your uncle. Oh, the chat is going Zoom tonight. Yes. Oh, we have Gut Bomb. Hey, Gut Bomb. Yes, welcome. Tom Armstrong says Steve should start on his laser printer collecting. Kib says I need to get this eMac out of the basement, but it's still 22.8 kilos. Yeah, I was about to say, well, are you on the East Coast? But I think you answered the rest of that question by means of what you weighed it as. Hopefully you'll find a good home for that, Kibbs, because the eMac is special, if not hernia-inducing. Oh, thank you, Jack! Yay, some VCF East money. Woo! Jeremy says the torch and some lead acid core solder. Actually, I think those G5 Max, it's a little more than that. It's usually, I think it leaks out at the where the rubber hose meets the fitting, because Apple should have never used Dexron. That's probably really the way it boils down. Let's see here. I know I missed some good stuff here. But yes, I am... Chris is... Oh, Chris, yes. So I will actually be at the System Source repair workshop sometime Saturday afternoon. Chris and I are going to be there for a couple hours. So I know that a couple of my viewers that I don't know if I've seen them in the chat yet, I think they're going to be there. So I'll get to meet some people, and I'm taking computer with me so that maybe I can get a second opinion on what's wrong with computer. And Adam's asking, do I want the Mac Plus shell in pieces or whole? Preferably a whole shell. That would probably be easier. Unless I'm misunderstanding your question. Yes, mystery boxes. Yes. Garth is eating supper. Well, yay. Let's see here. Jeremy says, I also have an Uncle Rob. Yeah. All right. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to have a computer with me, assuming I remember to put it in my car. And I think there was something else I was going to bring. And yes, I told Chris I would see if I had any pin headers, which I'd probably, well, actually, let me do it this way. Oh no, I don't have any paper. Oh, there we go. I have a piece of paper. When I need to remind myself of something, I'll write it on a piece of paper. So there we go. Not that you can read it. Pin headers. So now I'll set this piece of paper somewhere where there's a non-zero chance where I'll manage to still knock it off the workbench. But anyways, yes, 2 mystery boxes actually. Jeremy says, make sure I take a Mac mouse so you can talk with computer. Hello, computer. The keyboard. How quaint. Adam McGee says, drill a hole in the CRT and fill it with helium to make the computer lighter. Oh, funny, funny, funny. Gut bombs. So Garth Beagle put in the Oh, that was for Kibbs. Okay. That's the EMAC. Yeah, put helium in the EMAC CRT to make it lighter. Yeah. So Garth puts in the chat box emoji, question mark, box emoji, question mark, to which Gut Bomb appropriately replies, box emoji, parrot emoji, box emoji, parrot emoji. And then Garth just puts a row of parrots. Yes, very sus. Yes. Jesse says, ViewSonic, is that you? Yes. All right. And on that silly note, because now that everyone's kind of in a good mood before I pull the 512 on the bench, well, first, just in case anyone remembers the computers that were in the, as I'm calling it, Herndon Hall. So here is the box that this 512 was in from that hall. So this was apparently Mac 512 number 2. I'm presuming the serial number matches. It apparently has a bad analog and no logic board, although it does have a logic board in it now. It has a vented top, it's missing 2 feet, and has a lock tab. So that is what I know about the system. And now you're probably thinking, but Justin, don't they all have a vented top? And what was that kind of silly thing I might have seen in your thumbnail photo? Well, yeah, they don't all have that. Retro Tech Chris says, look at that. I remember when those darn things were in my living room. Yeah, and I remember when they were in my car to bring them home. Adam says, a Mac serial ending in M001W is a 512. So, yes. So, this Mac 512 has a non-Steve Jobs approved addition to it. Yes. It does have a locking tab. Fortunately, there was no battery in it, or the battery was removed. There are also no screws in it, so this is going to be entirely easy to pull apart. Yeah, RetroTech Chris says, oh man, did we ever pack Sloopy's car? But yeah, so anyways, we've got the 512. It's in the, I guess, original design language case. Screen's in okay shape. I don't think there's any screen burn on this one, but Doesn't look like it's screen burned. I don't know if this is a commercial product or if it's homemade. Because Jeremy says I would nickname this Mac Cyborg. Well, we'll see what I nickname it after I get it working, if I get it working. So, anyways, the back of it, let's say Macintosh 512K, and yeah. I'm not sure I showed this off on my channel. In fact, I may have shown some of this stuff off on Dave's channel. All right, let me see if I can. This is a rack mount compact Mac. These look to be rivets, not. I don't know that they're threaded inside of them, but I believe this is it's Jesse, this $6 million Mac. I believe that is a vintage mod. I don't think someone did that, like... I mean, sure, could they have done it like the 90s instead of the 80s? Maybe. But given how there's some patina here on the metal, although maybe it's a little bit of rust, although it does look like brass. I think this is from the 80s or the 90s, not the... Adam says cut the tape, but actually the tape has been cut. It's hard to tell on camera. Wait. Hold on. Are there... Let me check. Let me double check to make sure I didn't, like, fool myself into thinking there were absolutely 0 screws in this. Oh, no. There's definitely not any screws in it. All right. It's people... Jack says people attached all kinds of weird things to their compact Macs. Oh, hi, Scarlett. It's for suspending the Mac from an I-beam. Tom Armstrong says warranty tape. That tape has been cut. I think I just made the mistake of, like, pushing the case on all the way. Probably because there were no screws in it. Oh, look! It's got Steve Jobs' signature on it. That must mean it's rare. I wish I could get that locking tab out of it, but I'm afraid I'll break plastic if I do, so I'm just going to leave it in there. All right, so we have the Mac Plus, or not the Mac Plus, the Mac 512K. I got Mac Plus on the brain because of Tuesday's live stream. So this Mac 512K has been off for months, so I'm not really worried about it. It is... The reason it is non-functional is not because these cables are unplugged. These cables are unplugged simply because I didn't bother plugging them in last time I had this thing apart. So for logic boards, I have what might be one of the coolest logic boards. And I am certainly hoping there's nothing wrong with the RAM on this logic board, because I'm fairly sure it'd be really difficult to track down some replacement RAMs that look like that. Those are some pretty cool metal-topped Toshiba memory chips. And I don't think that this is anything out of the ordinary. I think Apple shipped boards with that on it. I don't know what it does, but I think it's a factory bodge of some sort, not a aftermarket hack. But if anyone's wondering, there's the ROMs. I believe these are 400K ROMs, which is actually appropriate. If you look at the serial number of this unit, you would see that this would have been they're Toshiba RAM chips. Those are pretty cool. So I think they're 400K ROMs, and actually if you look at the serial number of this machine, I think it dates to a 400K machine. Adam says he has spares of those chips in 64K and 256K. All right, excellent. I'll keep that in mind. I do have some spare 512K boards since this wasn't working when I took it, and the Herndon Hall had some extra logic boards. I did grab 1 or 2 spare logic boards just in case that one doesn't work. So I do at least have the potential of a spare logic board. Now I don't have any spare analog boards, so hopefully I can get this fixed. But the nice thing about having that plus that got damaged in shipping but otherwise works, if I need a working reference, at least I've got one now. So I'm going to go ahead and start looking at the analog board. I'm not even going to try to power it on now because I don't think it did anything when I last tried to power it up, and if it did something, it was nothing of any consequence. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the analog board out so I can take a closer look at it. I believe I have already, if there was a refa cap on here, I think I did already remove that. Because we tested a bunch of things at Chris's house, and removing the refas was one of the things he kindly requested us to do so that his house didn't smell like reefa smoke when his wife got back. Got bums working on Xbox controllers. Cool. Yes, I believe we were successful in not blowing any reefa capacitors up while testing things. We did have a couple, a surface mount capacitor or two decide to fizzle out electrolyte, but nothing that smoked from what I remember. So I guess we were successful in that. Actually, Chris's wife was probably just glad to see the living room was clean. Oh, yeah, Jeremy, I did get that oscillator in the mail to you. Hopefully you'll get it soon. Chris is working on a way to take Pico Mim on the road this weekend. Cool. Well, I've got my note to find a pin headers. I know I've got some around here, so I'll grab some. Jack says he's working on a Mac 2 that's recapped. Everything seems fine except SCSI. Probably another broken trace I haven't noticed yet. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Chris says, yeah, we got the living room clean just in time for another haul. Yeah. Yep. Oh no, got bomb 5. Forgot the battery thing. All right, well. Oh, it involves the hand 386. Actually, let me just unscrew the rest of this analog board and then try to remove it. Actually, I think I'm noticing there's a few more screws missing from this than I thought there were. And I don't think I've got the analog board in all the way. Okay, that's good. Yep. So I guess while I get this analog board out, the seller that I had bought that sound card from, where they got the shipping label mixed up, they are sending me a... So we came to a mutually acceptable agreement because the buyer that received the creative card I bought by accident, no surprise here, really liked their upgrade. And well, it wasn't their fault that the seller got our packages mixed up. Anyways, the seller offered, because he didn't have any other he didn't have another CT1770. So he's like, well, I could offer you another sound card, one that has a bracket on it. So I was like, okay, tell me more. I'm willing to hear you out on what you've got. He's like, well, I got a CT1740 that has been tested, and it's got a bracket on it, and the bracket's rust-free. I can send you that in place of the card you ordered, which the one I'd ordered had no bracket on it, and it was, as far as I remember, it was untested. So I thought about it, and I was like, well, I mean, I could still use a 1740. In fact, it might actually be more useful because I was only buying the 1770 that this person had because it had the ASP chip on it. Whereas the 1740, having the bracket and all, I could actually put it in a computer. Granted, it didn't have the ASP chip. But the thing is, that ASP chip, there was only like one game that ever used it. So, and it was a flight simulator game, and I'm awful at flight simulators. So it's not like I was going to really have fun playing the flight simulator game to review the ASP chip. And I can always find another ASP chip in the future sometime. So I accepted the offer of, here's a, I accepted the offer for the 1740 in lieu of the 1770 I had ordered. And actually, I think the 1740s usually go for more than I paid. So, especially with a bracket on them that's not rusty. So, he's mailed that. And hopefully I'll have it here in the next day or two. So, that's going to work out. Hopefully I don't regret it. But hopefully, I think that'll work out. I just won't have a Creative Labs ASP chip. But I didn't have the heart to, my other choice was he could see if the other buyer would return the card that he sent them by mistake, but it wasn't their mistake. Oh, and the other thing is, though, then after he sends me the tracking number for the Creative Labs card, I ask him, so what do I do with the card you sent me by mistake? And he told me to keep it. So, actually, I have 2 sound cards out of the deal. Now, granted, the card he sent me by mistake doesn't have a bracket on it. Neither did the one I bought, so. But anyways, yeah, so I actually have 2 sound cards out of the deal, so. I'll have to try the second sound card. Now, granted, it's not the best sound card in the world. It's a Sound Galaxy, like a Sound Galaxy NX Pro Extra. It's got some really weird name. Oh, it looks like it might have had a SCSI chip in it at some point because someone mangled the socket where the SCSI chip goes. So if I do ever find the SCSI chip for it, which is a future domain SCSI chip, I'll have to replace the socket and have to have a pin straightening party on the SCSI header. But it's a interesting card otherwise. This card actually apparently supports the Kovacs sound thing emulation mode. Or, well, it probably would, except, okay, so maybe getting to keep this card wasn't necessarily the greatest, but I haven't found anything wrong with this card yet that's not repairable. That capacitor's seen better days. The SCSI chip socket's seen better days. And I guess at least I know that I could probably test the card without straightening those pins, because they'll do nothing without the SCSI chip installed. But yeah, you have to look it up. It's like supports the Kovac sound thing and the Disney one that does the same thing. So the other weird thing about this card, though, is it does not do MPU 401. So you can't use the wavetable. Wait a minute. Why in the world is the internet saying that you can't use the wavetable header in DOS, but you can in Windows? Because I just noticed something. There is no wavetable header on this card. So it doesn't matter. There's no MPU 401 port. There's nowhere to put a wavetable. All right. Next complaint. All right, let's get back to this analog board here now that I got the safety barrier off. All right, so first I want to take a close look to see if I see anything that is obviously wrong. Like components that look like they're blown, parts of the board that look like they ran hot, components touching that probably shouldn't be. Those are fine though, I think. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. I might have missed a message here. Oh, yeah, the battery holder thing. Yeah, so I'll be able to. So yeah, Gutbomb printed me a battery holder for the Mac Plus. So yeah, he printed that, and he had something else to send me too. So yeah, yes, thank you for printing that, Gutbomb, and sending that along with a few other small items. And then Adam's going to get me a spare shell for my Plus so I'll actually be able to get that Plus up and running, and I'll use Gutbomb's battery mod to fix the fact that the original battery holder got pushed in shipping. And actually, I'll probably install the other thing Gutbomb's sending me in that Plus as well. And that's probably the Plus I'll actually install a diode on so I can use a blue SCSI. So yeah. Oh, hi, Nigel. Yeah, Nigel says it's still a good card. Yeah, the 1770 having SCSI is good, but the 1740 is basically the same card. And the Aztec's not too bad either. I have a couple. Yep. The game port is not MPU 401 compatible. Oh, that's right. It's the game. Yeah. There's not a wavetable header on that card, but the game port is not MPU 401 compatible, which is fine. That Aztec card, though, does have a real OPL3 chip on it. So, yeah, it's not a bad card. Now that's an interesting thing I just found on the back of this card or board. So I don't see anything obvious with this board other than something. Okay, something is leaked across this board. Because there is a streak there, and then there was a streak over on the other side of the board. The fuse is good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to recap the board. Because I do know the caps might have shorted. So I'm going to recap the board. I will go ahead and reflow the flyback transformer and the power connectors while I'm at it, because those are prone to cracking. I am going to unplug this cable to make it easier to work on. Probably would help if I grab the spudger to get a little bit of... Actually, I might need to look at this cable. Come on. Wow. I don't think anyone's ever removed this cable. There we go. Okay, that's probably fine. All right. At least I got the cable out of there. Ah, hi, Dave. Welcome. Is that streak just flux? It could be. It could very well be just flux. It could be factory flux. Anyways, I will go ahead and recap the board, reflow the components, and we'll go from there. Except, let me do one thing here first, because I do know that these switches, I have seen them fail. Well, I haven't personally seen them fail. I've seen them fail on other streams. Or have seen that they already failed before the computer got on the stream. Dave joining the chat reminded me, because I think his Flower Power Mac Plus had a... I think its original switch went bad, if I'm recalling the correct computer. So let me see if I can find the multimeter of beepity beep. There it is. It likes to go into hiding. Adam McGee says, this Mac Plus I'm looking at has a battery holder that turned so green, it made the plastic coating on the case melt off. Yikes. Yikes. Nigel says, I have a 512 that had a battery left in it. I have not opened it yet. I would probably recommend opening it at some point. All right. The switch does make contact. Actually, let me just double check that without the board resting on my bench. Yep. Okay. The switch is making contact. The power... Well, if I knew the pinout on this power connector... No. Okay. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do the recap. Because if one of these capacitors was shorted, then that would totally cause it to do what it's doing. Oh, I guess since we're talking about green battery stuff, luckily the battery terminals on this board are like squeaky clean. So it looks like this computer had its battery removed before going into storage. So that's good. Kib says, the multimeter is a weird species of tech. It's annoying when it's around, but almost always hiding when needed. Yeah. All right. Oh, that's right. Let me... Yeah, the mark on that power switch is definitely faded. Oh, actually, I did turn those on. Okay. Ah, good. I turned on Claris and the solder station. Or the smart outlets for them, at least. Yeah, well, the I mark is faint. So is the O mark. I think this was a well-used machine. All right. Oh, and your green leaky one. Okay. Sorry, it's sometimes when you're paying attention to the chat really quickly, it's... All right, let me find something to set this board on. No, I don't need to do that. I'll just start recapping it. All right, let me pull up the recapping guide. Let's see here. The recapping guide is 6300102. Yes. All right. So the recapping guide is on Steve's website. I'll put a link in the chat if you want to follow along. Although I'm also going to bring Console 5's website up in case there's any notes on the cap kit about substitutions. All right, there are a few substitution notes, so I will probably replace those first. All right, so what I'm going to do first here is zoom out a little so you can actually see the whole board. I am going to go ahead and mark all of the original electrolytic caps with a red mark. At least the axial ones. That'll make them a little easier to tell. Oh, wait, is that one? Oh, yeah, I think that's one right there. All right, and then there are a couple radials. Yep. All right, let me go and mark them. All right. I think that's all of them. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's 5 radials. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, wait a minute. 14 radials and 5 axials. I got them mixed up. Axial, just like an axle in your car. All right. Oh, well, thank you, Gut Bomb. Thank you. That's very nice of you. Well, then I will definitely have to put it in the Mac Plus. I mean, I don't want anyone to think I'm copying 1-bit fever dreams or anything, but I think I'll still have to put it in the Mac Plus. Yeah, Jesse says, at least there's a guide with this one as opposed to, well, good luck with that, pal. Yeah, exactly. Gutbomb says you can have a new Joe mailer we can send back and forth with between each other. Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, Jeremy, I hope you're not offended. I was fresh out of JCM-1 boxes for some reason, so I had to send your oscillator in another box. No. Actually, I probably have some somewhere, but I hid them from myself apparently. But yes, just as soon as I find the JCM-1 boxes again, I'll start reusing them for sending to other people in the community. Yeah, they're like the perfect size. All right. So what I'm going to first do is normally I'd like to go top to bottom, but since there are 4 caps that are... Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me take a look at the board here. Some of the cap notes are actually not substitution notes. They are, hey, if you have a reefa cap at this position, you need to order extra caps. Okay, so the first substitution is C1. C1 is a 3.9 microfarad nonpolar low ESR electrolytic cap, and it is replaced by a large red film cap because it's really hard to get non-polarized electrolytics in that size. So I believe that is the cap for replacing this one. So I'll get that one first because there's a substitution that I need to pay attention to. All right. Then it says C33 and C37. Y safety caps may also be reefa type. So C33 and C37 are not reefa type, so that does not apply to this board. All right, C38. Square black or green, 1 microfarad cap. Replaces the reefa safety cap at C38. Well, where's C38? Oh, okay. Well, my C38 is not a reefa, so I'm not going to replace that. Even though there is a X2 class cap in here to put in place of C38, since mine is not a reefa type, I'm not going to replace it. So I guess I've got a whatever size that is as a spare. Yay. All right. Let me go ahead and first tackle this one that is... Oh, well, now that's interesting. That is very interesting. All right, cool. Capcom's gonna message me the other parts I'll need. All right, I will... Uh-oh. Start knocking capacitors off my bench. This is not a good sign. All right. So for some reason, they bent the legs over and soldered them in 2 places. I don't know if that means that trace was bad from the factory, or someone didn't feel like cutting the trace, or what, but I will check that. After I desolder the capacitor. And actually... So if you now notice that the smoke is going away from me, it's because I turned on my smoke absorber, which has been slightly enhanced by the power of a large AC fan. Jack says, apply 120 volts directly to the cap leads to find out if it's a reefa. Yeah, that would definitely be one way to find out if it's a reefa type. Actually, you would not want to apply 240 volts to this analog board. The original analog board for the Macintosh was not auto-ranging, so... In fact, actually, if you saw Steve's video he posted yesterday, he had some letters from some person at Apple that I forget their name. And I think one of the letters actually mentions that part of the effort needed to sell the Macintosh in Europe is a new analog board. Yeah, those legs bent like that is weird. I'm going to see if there's a break in the trace or what. Because that is, like, really weird. Okay, well, it tests good, but alright. Let me see if I can figure out why those leads were bent like that, because that was kind of weird. So I don't know if that was done at the factory, or if that was someone did that because they replaced the cap and thought there was a break. But there's no break there. And there's no break there. Yeah, I'm going with Kibs. Someone didn't want to cut them. Because there is no break. There's no broken trace there, so... Alright. I don't see a need to replicate that because, first of all, I don't think the leads on the new component are long enough to do it. And second of all, the trace isn't broken. So, actually... Alright. I believe there is enough room to kind of put this cap in the center and let it hang off evenly on both sides. I am, though, tempted. Oh, good night, Frank. Actually, I am tempted, though, just because that's going to stick up further than it would normally. And get some heat shrink. This heat shrink I bought, it was cheap on Amazon, and when I checked out, Amazon told me that this item ships in the manufacturer packaging, and I had at the time naively thought, I was like, no, there's no way that Amazon's going to ship a thing of shrink wrap tubing in the original packaging. they shipped it in the original packaging. They slapped a shipping label on the poly bag that the seller had to put this in and shipped it. So yeah, now every time Amazon tells me that they're going to ship something in the original packaging and it's something that I think is really not intended to ship in the original packaging, I always tell them to put it in a box. I can't use the wider spaced vias it was attached to because there's components in it, so I do need to use the original spaces. It looks like the this inductor, the leads were going to one of the pins on this inductor and one of the pins on this connector. So unfortunately I can't just like yeah, no, but I'm going to put a little heat shrink tubing around the part of the leg that'll be sticking out of the board just in case the component gets bent over. There we go. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, oh, I think I see why they did what they did at the factory. I think one of the pads was lifting up off the board. Alright, well I'm going to try to replicate what they did because I think I now see why they were doing it. I think this pad was lifting up at the factory. So in order to make sure that there was a sufficient solder joint, I think they did that. I don't think it was simply they didn't want to cut it. I think they were fixing the fact that they probably should have scrapped the PCB, but didn't. All right. Oh, yeah, yeah. Sometimes they do leave different vias, but yeah, this one is not one of them, so I'm going to have to just go with what we have and oh. Oh, that was not what I wanted to do. Oh, let me find a switch. Push that down with. Let me do this. All right. There we go. All right, hopefully I'm not miming anymore. If I am still miming, please say so in the chat. if I'm not miming, you beat me to it, Gut Bomb. I was going to say, if I'm not miming, then literally say the word "so" in the chat. Just in the voice. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Vborg, I have been healed. No life of silence for me. All right. Uh-oh. Oh. All right. I keep losing parts of this board. All right. The real tech is working again. All right. There's a little bit of hot glue on this capacitor, also known as snot. Also, side note for you homeowners out there, if your shower ever gets to the point where it slowly drains and drain opener doesn't work, you might want to look and see if there's like a little spot on the drain cover that looks like you can put a little screwdriver in it and pop it open. And I'll warn you, you might not want to eat or drink at least 30 minutes before or after removing said contents. Maybe an hour. That has been a home improvement tip from Justin D. Morgan to hopefully save you from calling a plumber who will charge you for the privilege of them going, blech! I think we're going to be there about 2 o'clock. We would have probably maybe tried to be there a little earlier, but we do have, Chris has one item that we must do before we can head up that way, so. Luckily, that item we have to do is like very, very, very close to his house. Like, almost like maybe across the street from the subdivision, practically. So, and then we'll get on our way up to the system source. So hopefully we'll be there about 2 o'clock. And we'll probably stay a couple hours. Oh, actually, we may, okay, it might be like right after 2. I think we have a stop on the way there too, so. Anyways. Yeah, so look for us like sometime at or right after 2 o'clock. Yeah, I did put some rubbing alcohol on it while I was miming, and also it does help when the legs aren't bent. But I first had to get the bonds of the glue done. Yeah, yes. So you also might have, if you've looked at my YouTube channel, I did post another short about the Mystery Trident video card. So you can check that out if you weren't. Well, I mean, you could watch the replay on my live stream from Tuesday, because we did. Actually, Gut Bomb did some awesome sleuthing in the chat for me. But I did a little short on that video card too, just to kind of, for the audience that likes the shorts, I did a little update on the short. I might have recorded a few more, I just only uploaded one. So, well, that cap's actually still good, but it's old, so we'll go ahead and install the new cap. Yeah, Jesse says, I found out we have the lowest house on the block, so when the city sewers malfunction, guess who knows about it first? Yeah, the green faced emoji. Yeah, ugh. Ew. Yeah, Vborg says ew. Yep. If I found out that was my house, I would probably have city water and sewer on speed dial 2. You're probably thinking, what would speed dial 1 be? Well, of course, that's going to be my grandparents, because Jesse says the gas station decided to dump chicken grease down the drain at one point. Ew, we're not supposed to do that. I watched the basement drain like a hawk, so no real damage so far. Yeah, good. Jesse says, I have the head of Department of Water and Sewer cell number. Yeah, good. Very good one to have. Ooh, Vborg's got a good suggestion. I'd have a plumber install an anti-backflush valve on my sewage line. Yeah. Assuming that your locality doesn't prohibit them for some reason. Oh, believe me, I'm sure there's somewhere where they'd come up with some unreasonable ordinance. Okay, so C3 is a... Well, on this board, it's a 220 microfarad. On Steve's guide, it says 270. So let me see what's in the recapping kit. There is a 220, so that might be the one that I'm supposed to put there. I may send, if I remember, I'll send Steve a note and let him know that he might add a note to his recapping guide that I think it's might be 220 or 270 on depending on what board you have. Yeah. Yeah, you're right there, Vborg. That's probably where I would take a long and hard look at and it's possible I'm thinking that in some jurisdictions it might be maybe where it's placed is what's regulated and not necessarily the being able to have one. Of course, with something like that, you definitely want to check your, well, you're probably going to have a plumbing permit in most places to install one of those anyways, so hopefully your local plumber would be fully versed on what's needed. Oh, and I didn't realize I was making that joke up bomb. I was just I was actually copying a something General Hammond says in Stargate SG-1, where like O'Neill's asking, it's a situation where he needs to call the president, and O'Neill's saying, sir, don't you think you should press number 1 on that old speed dial? And Hammond replies back, my granddaughter, why would I want to call her right now? And which O'Neill replies back, okay, well then maybe it's number 2 on your speed dial. So I was copying that line. I didn't realize I was making another joke when I said to put sewage on speed dial number 2. But anyways, which is why I said my grandparents would be on speed dial number 1. I know, that was a completely obtuse Stargate reference, so I'm not surprised no one got it. Alright, so this cap is like getting close to being out of spec, I think. It's like halfway there. Alright. Jesse says, I know people in this town. My wife is county board here. We can get things done. Alright. Gut Bump says, I love General Hammond. He's the best. Yeah. So now you see why I was. That's where I was getting my joke from. I didn't realize I was getting a double joke in. So you're welcome for the double joke. Yes. Yes. Don Davies was like, I think, the best person they could have cast for General Hammond. He certainly played that role well. Actually, just about everything he was in, he played the role well, but he was definitely quite possibly the best choice for General Hammond, because he nailed the performance. I can't think of many other actors that would have done similarly. In fact, actually, quite honestly, I think the whole cast of SG-1 was a solid cast. Yeah. Oh, Gutbum says, yeah, he reminds me of my grandpa. Yeah. Actually, you're right. He does give a grandfatherly air to the role, yes. Even though he's also a tough general. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was great as Scully's dad on the X-Files too. Yes, that's right. That's right. All right, let's see. C5 is a 47 microfarad. It's going to be right over here. All right, let me see here. Well, that's 33 microfarad. Let me organize my axials here momentarily. So that's a 33 microfarad. That's I can't read that one. And let me see here. What do we have in terms of axials? We've got a 47, a 22, a 33, a 33. Yeah, 47, 22, 33, 33, and 22. So the 47, I think, is going to be the one that I couldn't read. So let me look at it under the microscope. The modern cap is much smaller than the original. Oh, you know why I couldn't read the value? There we go. Yep, that's the 47. I was looking at the wrong side of the capacitor. The reason I couldn't read a microfarad size on the capacitor is I was looking at the date stamp. Which is why my brain was having trouble reading a capacitance value. Kib says that is the cleanest anode cap I've seen in my life. Yeah, it actually is. Actually, this computer is actually like... Oh, actually, I may have cleaned the anode cap already. I may have actually cleaned it. Because I think I did take a quick look at this computer on one of Dave's streams. Like, right after I picked it up. I think since Chris had shown off the haul on Dave's stream, I think I did show off a couple things on, like, Dave's stream a week or two later. Or, like, a week or two after I picked it up. So I may have already cleaned the anode cap. That may not be a sign of how little or much it was used. It may just be an indication that I already cleaned it. I'd have to go back and look at Dave's old stream around the time. My beliefs are shattered. Yeah, well, maybe I'm making up stories. It kind of looks like I might have cleaned it, though. Because normally there's, like, the remains of dielectric grease on them, and I'm not really seeing that. Which, actually... I will actually be able to reapply the dielectric grease on it, so... I have some dielectric grease now. I am hoping that I find at least one shorted capacitor while I'm doing this. Okay, well... Alright, so this ESR meter, if you hear it ding 2 times, that's it telling you it's a really good cap. And if it dings once, I think that's it telling you that it's like, it's still in spec, but kind of like marginal or like, so you're kind of at the top end of the range. But I mean, it's probably still a cap that would be okay to continue using. And then if it doesn't ding, then you've probably got an end-of-life cap. And that's just my summary based on what I remember from reading the manual. And then if you hear it make that noise, it just automatically powered itself down because to save its battery. Actually, you might think it has a pretty short like power on time, but this meter powers up really quick, so the fact that it shuts off after like 30 seconds to a minute of inactivity is really not a problem because you turn it on and it's ready to go like within like a second. So I have to rate it. A lot of tools, they can be annoying when they shut themselves off too soon, but this one's actually okay. In fact, I'll just to kind of show you. Okay, so it's like less than 2 seconds. And the cool thing is, the other cool thing about these, you put the component on. I'm just going to attach a new capacitor. It can sense when you've connected it. Whoops. And then while it's still on, you can remove that component and put another one on. It'll detect you've connected it, and there you go. Those were actually 2 of the new capacitors, if you're wondering. So, whoops. Also, I think I could push this capacitor down just a little bit further. Oh, there we go. I didn't realize I had it kind of far away from the board on this one side. There we go. Oops. All right. There we go. That one's replaced now. All right. The next one is C6. C6 is a 22 microfarad. It's that one there. Which I believe is going to be... Actually, for this one... I think... Hold on, I'm having trouble pinpointing that one and that one. All right. So I put some little red marks on the board. Actually, you know, I powered up Claris. I haven't let Claris have any fun tonight. Of course, partly because some of these capacitor legs are bent. All right. Well, let's see here. Oh, it's 10:30 and I've only replaced like 2, 4. Oh, I think I'm on like capacitor number 5. Lovely. Well, it's not necessarily a race. It is also why I marked the... Oh, wait a minute. Did I? Oh, I may have... Oh, I desoldered the wrong component. Okay. All right. That would be why the capacitor's not coming off. There we go. That... Yes, there we go. That was the capacitor leg. One beside it. I got one of the legs of the resistor that was beside it, so... Easy fix. All right, so that's a 22 microfarad. Well, okay. 22. I think that's one of these. No, that's a 33. All right. Let's see here. There we go. And while I'm at it, let me get the resistor I accidentally desoldered. Because that could cause problems later. There we go. And that's check. Oh, yeah. All right. Just wanted to double check something. All right. So the next one is C9. So C9 is nestled right here. It kind of looks a little funny. It might just be because it's dirty. It is hot glued down. Let me put a little isopropyl on the board around the glue. I'll let that sit a moment and that should come right off. While I'm at it though, I'm going to do a little cleaning of that streak. This probably just flux, but I'll go ahead and kind of take the Q-tip to that streak running down the board. That's probably flux, but could be something else. I'll do the same on the bottom side of the board after I'm done soldering, in case I have to use any flux. All right, let's see if that hot glue... Oh, Jesse, I was wondering, because you were working on a compact LTE 286 the other day. Did you come up with a capacitor list? Because I can go see if I can find my Mauser cart from when I ordered capacitors for mine. For the, actually, I guess for both the logic board and the power supply. I think I did order caps for both. Here. I think that's right there. All right. Yeah, these are bent over, so I'm going to use solder braid. They're a better SSH, SCP, SFTP client for Windows than CyberDuck. I don't know. I just lazily use the web interface for my web host. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned on my live stream where I'd had trouble making my thumbnail on because Photoshop wouldn't open some of the photos. I had to like open them in Paint and save them as a new file. Oh yeah, Adobe Customer Care got back to me. They asked me to send them the original files, and actually they fairly quickly got back to me. I'm kind of embarrassed. Well, okay, I guess it's kind of partial embarrassment that I didn't think to check if what the actual cause was potentially a cause. But then again, how would I have known? But apparently the reason Photoshop wouldn't open the files is because they were named .jpg, but they were not JPEG files. I mean, I guess I could be understandable that maybe your program doesn't open a file if it fails a file type check, but on the other hand, if you're going to do that, then maybe you should return an error other than program error, where the troubleshooting steps basically tell you to like delete your preferences and possibly reinstall or go back to a previous version. Because none of that's going to help you if your web browser, when you saved the file, gave it the wrong file extension, probably because the person uploading it gave it the wrong file extension. Because apparently I figured out web browsers don't care what the extension is as long as the file format's valid, apparently. But Photoshop, because it was actually a WebP file and the extension was JPEG, it wouldn't open the file and gave a program error. So, oh, well, that capacitor looked weird, but apparently still tests fine. Oh, okay, so that's 160 volt. Oh, yeah, okay, so there's going to be... Okay, that's nice. Should be a... $160 and 10 microfarad. Yep. That's not it. Alright. Oh, there it is. Jesse's reply. Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? Hank Hill. Yep. My audio and video are about a second out of sync. Well, that's what I intend, Gut Bomb. I don't want to be called in sync. Boom, boom. Did that help it any? Gut Bomb's response is bye, bye, bye. Yep. He got the reference. That fixed it good. See, you come for the fun and the maybe obscure and not so obscure 90s and 80s references when I can manage them. All right. C11 and C13. Actually, maybe I'll just go ahead and get both of those at the same time. Oh, actually, I'm going to have to... this hot glue is actually on the capacitor leg. There we go. All right, so while that has a chance to dissolve the hot glue on top of C13, let me go ahead and get C11 off the board. I think that's going to be... Is that it? Okay. It's going to be that one there and that one there. All right. Yes, new and alternative... new and exciting alternatives to being a mime, yeah. Gutbomb says it was tearing up my heart, yeah. All right. Well, did I get that? Oh, capacitor leg. All right, let's see here. Capacitor leg's bent. All right. I know how to take care of this. I'll just cut the end of the capacitor off that's like really bent over. All right, well, that one's actually testing fine. Well, I was convinced I would find a bad capacitor, but then again, I think at the moment I'm still in the low voltage side. Always a chance when I get to the high voltage side. That's where I'll find my bad capacitors. There we go. All right. There we go. There's that one. Now let me see if I can get the hot glue up. Maybe if the half that I need to come off the board will come off. Still kind of leaving that speaker wire glued down. That would be really nice. I think the whole thing's going to come off, but that's fine. Yeah, Jesse, Got Bomb says, I now have NSYNC in my mind. Thanks, Justin. Well, I mean, would you like me to get some other songs stuck in your head? There's so many songs I could get stuck in your head. I mean, we've got the wonderful melodies of Joe Strohsnyder, such as Hit It With a Hammer, 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 Hit It With a Hammer. Buy your Blue Scuzzies at jcm-1.com. Or I could get the Windows 95 startup song stuck in your head. Or because our brains work in funny ways. Oh, yeah. Some of y'all are probably going to see this one coming now. I could get the Hit It With the Hammer song to the tune of the Windows 95 startup sound stuck in your head. No. Wait, Jesse said, now I remember going deaf from the Backstreet Boys concert 2 years ago. Gutbomb says, I used to drive a Miata, and whenever I was stopped at a stoplight while my son was in the car with me, I would take the top down and crank NSYNC or Backstreet Boys and dance in my seat. He would die. Jack says, hopefully he remembers that when he's older. Good dad memories. Jesse says he'll crank up the Nicki Minaj. I don't know how you spell that. I hope I pronounced that right on you. All right. Having trouble figuring out which pads the capacitor I need to remove. Let's see here. So there's that. There's the speaker wire. All right. So there's the transistor. So the capacitor that I need to remove, I think is... Okay. There we go. I think it's this pin and that pin. All right. Got my bearings. All right. Got Bombs replies, no, he likes worse music. My Chemical Romance. Jesse says, close enough. Jesse says, that comment was for Gut Bomb. Unless my dogs figure out how to drive and crank up music, it won't happen to me. Okay. I sometimes get trapped into watching the reels on Instagram, and oh yeah, there was one that it caught my eye, and I'm still stumped as to where it was, because I think it was a guy that was basically driving a billboard for Subway on his motorcycle, but apparently he had a drum set on his motorcycle, And it was this car that was at the intersection waiting at the red light beside the motorcycle with the drum set on it, and he was playing the drums to whatever song he was cranking on the PA system. And I wasn't sure that you could have put a drum set on your motorcycle anywhere in the US, but apparently you can. Or at least he's not being caught yet. I don't know. That was kind of interesting and weird. And how dare you Facebook all, or how dare you Meta all at the same time? Greg Rutke says, geez, he's still going. Yes. Hi, Greg. Welcome and congratulations on 12,000 subscribers. And I had to catch myself there. I just about said the wrong number. Yes, Greg Rutke hit the big 12000 subs. Yeah, I'd already planned to have a live stream tonight, or I would have probably reconsidered, but I'd already planned on having a live stream, and well, it is after all the day after the 40th anniversary of the Macintosh, so I guess for anyone just joining the I am working on this analog board for a Macintosh 512K, and I decided to work on it now because yesterday was the 40th anniversary of Macintosh. So yes, 40 years ago today, the famous Macintosh commercial played during the Super Bowl. Or maybe I'm supposed to say it played during that big game, because I know the NFL can be quite jealous over the name of their big game. All right. Greg says I'm trying to make a career out of it. Oh, Greg says I said I average 1,000 subscribers a month. I meant to say 100 in the live stream. Oops. Jack says, what's off being off one order of magnitude? Yeah. Yeah, it was yesterday was the 24th. So, yeah, I'd live stream Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it's why I decided I would just do it one day late. Although, in reality, I'm not late. Hashtag just in time. Yes, I know Greg just launched a merch store, and I will have to inquire later as to what merch store option he went with, because I'm trying to figure out how I want to go about doing the same. Because I have a whole list of shirt ideas, and so yeah. I mean, Greg, if you want, you can put it in the chat here. If you would rather take it offline, then sure, I'll get with you some other time on it. But I know some people are like totally fine. It's like, hey, yeah, this is who I used. But if you'd rather like talk about that particular thing offline, totally fine. I get in touch with you later, whenever I get a chance. Gut Bomb says there better be a Mad Dog shirt. All right, Gut Bomb, I'll do it because you asked nicely. I'll make sure one of them's a Mad Dog shirt. Fourth wall. Okay. Okay. It's a pain to integrate at first, though. And a computer. Yes, of course, Gut Bomb. Of course, there will be a computer shirt. Yeah, fourth wall was actually who I was thinking of going with. But I think before I do actually say for certain, I was probably going to when I get a chance order a shirt from someone I knew that used fourth wall, just so I could get an idea of the quality of service. So now that I know you use fourth wall, I'll keep that in mind. um, Gut Bomb says, please meet my rude demands. And to that comment, immediately in my mind, the one of the Olsen twins popped in my mind is the girl in Full House. Is like, cool it, dude. Or wait a minute, no, it wasn't one of her lines. How rude. Oh, Greg says I even got to use my .tech domain on it too. Yeah, I did notice that because I did take a quick peek at your merch store today. Yeah. Jesse says, I'm so using that comment from now on. Yeah. Jack says to Gut Bomb, I demand satisfaction. Slap. Jesse says, will you duel or are you a coward? Yes. Yeah. Oh, Jack's also laughing at the thought of my computer shirt. Okay, Greg's also telling me that I knew Steve used fourth wall. I did not know that Sean also uses it, so that's good to know. Gut Bomb says desoldering guns at dawn. I'm gonna have to start writing some of these down for weird and crazy shirt ideas. All right, but it's 11:07, and all right. Hopefully, with these radial caps, I'll pick up speed again. Actually, no, I'm probably having too much fun, but anyways. All right, C24. It's this big chunker here. I think it is. I mean, I can always, I guess I can always threaten this Mac 512K to, and if it doesn't start to cooperate real quick, I'll send it to someone who has a no tolerance policy towards computers. Maybe I'll threaten to put a fan in it. Maybe that'll make it behave. Yeah, Mac 512K, if you don't start behaving, I'm going to put a fan in you. a loud, giant fan. Trying to think of what type of fan would be like totally, absolutely the opposite of what Steve Jobs would have wanted in it. Jack 68K, the desoldering gun, says mine only sucks. Well, I guess for a desoldering gun, that's probably what you want it to do. I mean, if you want to get the solder out. Alright, so let me double check this was, yeah, 2200, 16 volt. Oh, this is a interesting looking Panasonic cap. Just the gold color. Oh, that cap's probably fun. Alright, 2200, 16 volts. Alright. Alright, I'm still hoping I find a shorted cap somewhere that'll explain the behavior. Oh. Alright, there's that one. I got some solder blobs on the bench. Jack says, I've seen a lot of really cool colors of caps on analog boards. Too bad they're mostly boring color now. Yeah, I know it's like they yeah, it's kind of like they color coded them to indicate the series back then, and they kind of really took it serious, but now they're like kind of just like, I mean, they got serieses, and sometimes you'll get them where they look fancy, but nowadays it's just mostly the series is marked with some letters and yeah, kind of like the, well, nope, customers don't normally see this, so we're just gonna not make them look fancy because it's cheaper to do it that way. So I'm actually removing two caps because they're beside each other and they're the same value, so Tom Armstrong says, I like the bright green and red caps. Jack says, yes, that's what my Plus has. Ooh, actually, I think I might have struck pay dirt, or rather, electrolyte. Okay, so this is. I'm gonna keep these separate. So, if you notice, if you remember, I mentioned there was a streak of something down the board. It kind of went this way. Well, I don't. Okay, maybe I got isopropyl alcohol under this cap and forgot about it. But I think this cap might have been leaking. So maybe this is the one I've been looking for. Yeah. Tom Armstrong says cap juice. Jesse says those purple Sanyo caps were pretty neat. Yeah, those were. All right, so maybe I just found the leaking cap that I was suspecting I would find. And yeah, I think this is one of the caps that if it was leaking and bad, that it would cause problems with the power supply. So we'll definitely. Oh yeah, there is definitely something there, and all right, let me grab another cotton swab or two. I'll go ahead and. Jack says, I don't know if there's an optocoupler. I've never had one of these analog boards go bad. I think there is an optocoupler, but I don't know where it is right offhand. If recapping this doesn't fix it, then I'll probably, well, I doubt I have the optocoupler on hand, but that'll probably be the first thing I'll try when I come back to this board if recapping it doesn't fix it. All right, so let's go for the potentially leaky cap first. This is the one that came out of C25. Yeah, Jack is agreeing that does suspiciously look like leaked electrolyte. Yeah. The cap does definitely smell like there's something more than isopropyl on it. Interestingly enough, it's testing. Well, it's testing good in the tester, but testing good in the tester doesn't always equate to it actually is good, especially if it's like just started to leak. So we'll take that one with a grain of salt. Oh, hi, Steve. Eep. All right. Well, I'm still highly suspect of the one cap because it looks like it was leaking, even if they did test good. Let's see. What were these? These were 1,000 microfarad, 35 volt. Oh, Steve, I have a potential update or note for your recapping guide for the analog board. I think the cap at C3 is sometimes a 220 microfarad. Because I think I've had at least two analog boards and it was a 220 and not a 270 both times. What's the voltage rating on the cap? Well, those two caps I just removed were 16 volts. Oh. Oh, and it looks like C25 and C26 might be 16 volts sometimes. Which is why I couldn't find the caps at first. Good call, Thomas. There we go. Oh, okay, yeah. Thomas is pointing out it could be that my tester is using a low voltage and it might be fine at the tester's voltage, but then not fine when you get to the operating voltage. So yes, that is definitely could be one reason why that doesn't make any sense at all. Hold please while I double check something. Huh. Oh, yep, that's right. Okay. Okay. I'm probably just following the traces wrong. Something didn't look right. Okay. Yeah, Thomas says the cap testers check under 10 volts most of the time. Well, those were actually 16-volt caps. Steve's guide says 35 volts, but it could be the case of if Apple didn't have 16-volt caps, they used 35 volt. Because I can definitely see that what was on this board was 16 volt. That did happen a lot. Like, that's also why maybe the board Steve has seen have had 270 microfarad at C3. That could have also been another. Some of the analog boards had that value just because they were out of the 220s they were using, and it's like, well, the extra microfarads won't hurt it. So engineering said, yep, go ahead and sub that part to keep production going. All right, C29. This one here. All right, so that's C29. And actually, you can see that streak there. So I'm going to be very curious what I see when I remove this capacitor. So yeah, if I can get all these caps replaced before it gets too late, I'll actually try to power the Mac up. Since it looks like at least one of the caps I've pulled off was leaking, I'm going to give it maybe a 50-50 shot. Oh yeah, that looks like something was leaking there too. All right, so that's a 2216 volt. Yeah, that's definitely something on that board. All right. All right, well. Alright, well, I mean, looked like that one might have been leaking too, but it was at least still behaving at low voltage. Again, oh, another one of these kind of fragile pads. I don't normally like putting hot glue on boards because that's I think normally done to make sure things don't get jostled around in shipping, and I don't ship my vintage computers that often, but there are a number of pads that have been loose on this board. I think once I get it working, I may very well glue the caps back into place just to make sure that they don't put undue strain on these pads. And it is also possible that that cap was leaking and weakened the pad. Okay, the optocoupler on the plus is at position U3, next to the brightness knob. Alright, well that's going to be on the same place on this board, because this should be the same analog board. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm thinking that might be something that's leaked. I'll clean that up after I'm done soldering. Oh, yep, there it is. I see it. Yeah, if that part's bad, then that would definitely cause the power supply to not work. Alright, so we got C29. So C30 is this little one here. Alright. And I guess maybe let me go ahead and get C31 while I'm at it, because, well, I'm probably going to manage to desolder it. Alright, it's actually that and that. I'll just go ahead and get them both. They're not going to be that easy to mix up because they're two different values. Should be one of them. Never tried to test an optocoupler. I think on an optocoupler, you can test one side like a diode, and the other side, I think, Thomas Armstrong could comment. He might be able to comment quickly, because I think one side's going to look just like a diode. Oh, you mean, yeah, except for turning on the computer while it's installed. Oh, yeah, that. Okay. That might be one of the parts that if I was suspecting it was bad, I might just replace it. Because by the time you remove it, I mean, they're not, I don't think they're like a super expensive part. So if compatible parts are easily available, that's probably the part I would, if I was suspecting it was bad, I would probably just remove it and replace it with a new one. You know, that capacitor looks a bit suspect. Or I got isopropyl. Oh. Yeah, that smells like more than isopropyl alcohol. Alright, if these capacitors weren't leaking, something leaked onto the board around them. If this isn't electrolyte, it is something that doesn't belong here. Because, yeah, and I don't think it's old flux. I mean, it could be. I could be cleaning up old flux. But I could also very well be cleaning up electrolyte. All right, let's get that glue up. Yeah, it had, it wasn't like full on fishy, but it definitely had an off odor to it beyond what isopropyl alcohol alone smells like. Because the cap had isopropyl alcohol on it because it had glue on it, so the cross contamination was somewhat unavoidable, but now that would explain what that mystery streak is. All right, so let's see what we got. Here's C30. It was that little small capacitor there. Jack says optocoupler 46 cents. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly the price where I would just go if it's looking like the optocoupler's bad, I'm just going to replace it at 46 cents. Because they can be tricky to test, but yeah, Tom's saying something has gotten hot. Sure got hot, cap juice, yeah. Again, at low voltage, they're testing fine, but that small one smelled more off than the large one. Not that I recommend smelling capacitors, but all right. So one of these is a 220. Yeah, 220. Like this. If I can. All right. And then the other one is a 1035. All right. 1035. All right. There we go. We'll get this. Oh, I keep losing my solder. Or in this case, it might be I just keep using it. All right, well. If I had a piece of solder on the bench, I'll find it eventually. Tom says, that's an important cap. It is in the oscillator. All right. All right, well then, yeah, that definitely would be a cap that it might have tested fine at the low voltage of the tester and the frequency of the tester, but if it had leaked, because it kind of looked like it had leaked, then it's quite possible that capacitor would not allow the power supply to operate correctly. All right, so I've got, I think, 4 more electrolytic caps. All right, that checks out because I have 4 on my bench and 4 on the. All right, so 35 and 36 are. Yep, and 39 and 43 are. Interestingly enough, the same cap, but different caps. All right. Okay, so these next two here are going to be high voltage caps. Now, unlike other power supplies I've recapped, where the capacitors were underrated and I upgraded them because those power supplies were actually universal power supplies or worldwide power supplies. On the 128, 512, and plus, there are separate analog boards for US and, or I guess, 120 and 240 volts. So on this analog board, these two caps are not underrated. They're actually what I would use for a 120 volt power supply, because they're rated at 200 volts, which actually is more than enough headroom for rectified AC power. In fact, actually, that's a really nice headroom for rectified AC. I think you could actually maybe get away with 180 volt, and that would still be enough of a little bit of margin. So 200 volts for these caps, that's actually probably a sign that they at least wanted to try to do a good job for a quality power supply. Jack says, seeing that clipped cap lead on my desk reminds me that I keep finding clipped resistor leads from when I built the LED Christmas tree. Yeah, I actually like to hold on to those clipped leads, because then I can use them when I'm like bodging something and I need something a little bit thicker than bell wire. Then I'll use actually a lead. Yeah, Tom Armstrong says 120 RMS peak to peak is like 170. So yeah, you could probably... Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So you could probably get away with 180, but ideally I think you'd want to use 200 just to make sure you would at least... your caps would at least be able to survive some sort of a spike. I mean, obviously, at some point when you're designing a power supply, you have to assume that there will be an upstream surge protector, because otherwise you'd have to have like billion volt capacitors to handle that direct lightning strike. Would make your power supply just a little bit unwieldy. Yeah, 250 volts is a good choice for 120. Yeah, that'd be a good choice too. I mean, 200 volts is not like awful. I mean, I've seen a lot of PC power supplies that were, quote, universal power supplies that only use 200 volt caps. So the fact that this is a 120 volt only power supply and it's using 200 volt caps, it's a much better use of 200 volt caps. Sure, I mean, you could put 250 volt caps in here and it'd probably be... extra good. Okay. Just trying to get the... Tom Armstrong says, old TV sets had like 15 kilovolt capacitors. Yeah. That, I mean, I guess I could see why they had 15 kilovolt capacitors, maybe. Well, our flyback voltage shorted the capacitors, but well, they handled it like a champ. Yeah, they kind of built things, they really built things to last back then. I mean, I can't help to think that there's maybe some reason why they were spec'd like that, and maybe failure modes of vacuum tubes or older electronics, they thought high voltage could short to the caps more often? I don't know. I just realized I should probably dissolve this glue. I'm having trouble getting the caps off. Let me go ahead and get the glue on these other two caps while I'm at it. Yes, isopropyl alcohol will dissolve the hot glue like nobody's business. Now, there we go. There's one. And all right, I think I might still have leads bent on this one. Oh, that looks kind of weird. All right, and that's yeah, and the cool thing is it doesn't take the hot glue very long at all. It just a few jiffies and you're good. I don't know. I do not know what that was under that cap because that's more black than electrolyte colored. Although maybe that cap's leaked too. We'll test it. I think I know which one came from where. And that actually kind of does have an ooh. I mean, that might be isopropyl alcohol, but I think that one's leaked. If it hasn't leaked, maybe it's rubber seals degrading. All right. Let's test them for science. Oh. All right. Well, that one's actually kind of high on its reading. All right, well, I think one of them was starting to leak, so that's probably just as well. All right. Hit it with hot air and smell. All right, I may do that afterwards. I don't want to melt any more of the bezel of my monitor than I already have by turning on the hot air to warm up a capacitor, see what it smells like, put the hot air gun back in its cradle, and realize 5 minutes later, because my monitor has a weird heat splotch on it, that I kind of flubbed putting the hot air gun back in the handle, or the holder. By the way, don't feel bad for my monitor. It was an Amazon warehouse deal where I think the monitor was in like acceptable condition. It's like Amazon had marked it down to like $20 or something. Or maybe it was in good condition. It was marked down to like $20 for a 1080p monitor. And I took one look at the price and I was like, for a monitor down at my workbench where it's quite possibly going to be subjected to abuse, $20 is probably not a bad price for a monitor that will show me a picture and maybe last a little bit. And yeah, it has a couple bad pixels on it, and I've managed to melt the bezel from my hot air gun, something fierce, including heating it up at one point where I had like a fairly large. I thought I'd like ruined the panel, but nope, it still works. I mean, one of these days, I'm probably going to like totally destroy it by accident. But well, hey, I only paid $20 for it, and and if I accidentally destroy it, I've definitely gotten more than my $20 out of it at this point. And yeah, I guess there's a reason why I've got my hot air gun where I do, because it's kind of one of those, no matter where I put it, it was going to inevitably point the nozzle at a monitor, just because of the angle that the cradle holds the nozzle at. So I was like, well, if I got to point this thing at a monitor, then I'm going to point it at the $20 ViewSonic panel that, quite honestly, it was so cheap I thought that I was going to get it, figure out it was junk, and have to return it. I was like, well, it's Amazon. It's Amazon warehouse. If it's not up to what they say it is, they'll take it back. Quite honestly, the only way I would have gotten a better deal on a monitor for my workbench down here is if I'd found one at a yard sale for like $5. Yeah, it was like Amazon warehouse. I think it was like $20. It might have been, it might have even been like $15. Maybe it was $20 or with shipping and everything. It was like some low price. I was almost expecting to order it and then like, oh yeah, sorry, we I get an email like, yeah, it's out of stock or something. It was almost sure. I mean, it might have been a pricing error, but yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been abused and still works. So, yeah, I don't know what model it is. Oh, wait, maybe the model's on the bezel somewhere, or maybe it's not. Okay, I can't tell you what model it is. Could I recommend it for live streaming on a bench where you do hot work? Yeah. Yeah. I think I could. Because I've pointed the hot air gun accidentally at it for longer than I thought it would take, and all I've done is melted the bezel. I mean, yeah, the bezel looks awful in a spot because that's where the hot air guns melted it. But Jeremy says I can currently get monitors for $5 to $10 locally on a regular basis. Well, yeah, I can't get them quite that cheap to get a 1080p monitor, but now I mean I've got a bunch of monitors, but a lot of them are like the Dell 4x3 monitors because yeah, the IT department at work was scrapping them, so yeah, in fact, actually, the IT department did something smart when they decided to finally clear out all the old 4x3 monitors. They put them on a cart in the atrium and said, yeah, basically the sign said, it's like free monitors, but you request the gate pass. Like, okay, yeah, that's an awesome deal. It's like free take, get off premises. That definitely looks like a capacitor that has leaked or degraded. Oh yeah, this orange cap is this is definitely leaked. So I actually, for the monitors IT was getting rid of, I think I ended up grabbing several. I grabbed a couple and then I waited to make sure everyone had a chance. And then when I realized that no one was taking monitors, I grabbed a couple more. Which is probably good. I think I then realized that one of them actually had failed. So we'll just say that even though I like using 1080p monitors because you get a little more real estate for OBS and everything, I at least do have enough of those Dell monitors that in a pinch I could set one up so I at least had a display for streaming. So plus use them with vintage computers because actually the Dell monitors they were scrapping are like some of the last 4x3 ones that Dell made that supported sync on green. So I did not know that at the time when I grabbed them. So that was actually a nice little bonus that I discovered later when I looked in the manual for them that, oh, yeah, these Dell monitors support sync on green. Nice. All right, well, this capacitor tests... oh, whoa. Actually, this capacitor's out of spec. It's a 470 microfarad capacitor. It's measuring at 590. I think that's actually out of spec. It's also leaking, so I take that measurement with a grain of salt. But I believe that is actually out of spec high. This one's actually in spec. Because that first one is actually like about actually plus 40%. Oh, my math might be off. All right. Well, those are the last two capacitors. So let me see here. 470, 10. Yep. I think one of these capacitors may also have to do with the... Oh, yeah. So this C39, I think, is quite possibly important because it's down here by the oscillator. Although it might not be used by the oscillator now that I look at its path. All right. Let's get these last two caps soldered, and then I'm going to give the board a... Well, not much of a clean. I will see if I can get this electrolyte, the potential electrolyte streak off the back of the board here real quick. Without hopefully getting the speaker wet. All right. There we go. That is all the capacitors. All right, so let me zoom out a little so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to hold the board like this so that hopefully I can minimize what isopropyl I get down on the speaker. But I was going to at least try to kind of get up the little solder blob there. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I read about the adapter that Big Mesa Wires is making. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, it's getting harder to find monitors that'll do sync on green. I mean, especially, yeah, new monitors I don't think do sync on green. Used monitors will eventually fail. Well, Jeremy's asking $33 for anti-static bags. How many anti-static bags? If it's like, because depending on how many it is, that might not be a bad price. But yeah, anti-static bags are more expensive than they used to be, that's for sure. All right, definitely cleaning up some gunk off the board here. All right, I think now that I got around the speaker, I'm going to switch to giving my board a little bit of dental hygiene, aka a toothbrush. I'm sure 4 out of 5 dentists recommended after being taken on a golf trip by the toothbrush manufacturer. Actually, I think it's a store brand toothbrush, so 0 out of 5 dentists recommend it because the store brand didn't take them on that golf trip. Oh, wait, maybe 1 out of 5 dentists. There's that one that'll just say yes because they don't like golf. Oh, that's right. I was going to reflow things on this board, but, well, kind of out of time to do that. So I think I'm going to go for the, let's see what it does, and, well, that's probably all the thing I'm going to have time for is to just give it a power up and see what it does. At least I'll get the flux off the board on the bottom. Oh. Jeremy sent the link. Okay, let me take a look at Jeremy's link. I'll let the isopropyl flash off just a little bit. Oh, they're from Uline. Pounds per carton. Well, Uline certainly doesn't make it easy to know how many anti-static bags are in 4 pounds. Oh, it's 100. Okay. Well, oh, you don't. Oh. Oh, well. Let me. Well, here's what. Tell you what, Jeremy. I can probably put a couple to you in a first class envelope. Then you don't have to buy a box of 100. I think I've got some that big. Yeah, let me look at what I got, Jeremy. I might just be able to send you a couple, since they're for the board you need to send to me. And I think those I can put in first class, so they won't be too bad to ship to you. I mean, $33 for a box of 100 from Uline is probably the going rate, and without looking at what others charge for 10 by 12 bags, I mean, that might not be a bad price. But I also do occasionally grab anti-static bags when I see them in the trash, and I think they might be 10 by 12s. And don't worry, when I see them in the trash and rescue them from the trash, I only rescue the ones that haven't had food trash put on top of them. Because luckily, at least, I think folks have figured out to, like, not... to put them in a trash can that's not doesn't have food in them, because someone's possibly going to come by and grab them. Yeah, let me see what I got. I could probably send you a couple. And don't worry about the fact that I just sent you an oscillator yesterday. I would have probably had to use a larger box to put anti-static bags in with the oscillator, so actually it might actually be cheaper for me to just put them in a first class envelope separately than it would have been if I'd tried to find a box to put them in with the oscillator, so don't worry about it. Oh, actually, I just realized. Okay, I think I got the envelope right here I can put it in, because I just remembered I'd bought something on eBay and the seller had put brand new padded envelopes in the box to pack it. So, all right, I have an envelope, so I think I can send it first class. Okay, let's see what we got here. So I got the 512. So we got the monitor. I think, looking at it, I think I can confirm I did clean it. So I've got the 512 board that I think, now that I think about it, I might have actually tested this in another... No, wait a minute. No, I didn't. That's right. So I had gone up when the weekend I got this from RetroTech Chris, where he had rescued it. That's right. A bunch of the stuff that I grabbed, I actually didn't test it while I was there. So that's right. I don't think I've tested this logic board. So this logic board might actually have faults with it. However, it might also be fine, because I think a lot of the... I can get the logic board lined up to go into the slot for this. All right. All right. Good night, Eric. Oh, hi, Eric. I think I'd missed you joining the chat. So I do apologize. I didn't realize you'd popped in the chat. But good night. And hopefully better luck with compiling mini VMAC tomorrow. All right, I will plug in the floppy drive, although I suspect the floppy drive is gummed up and will need ungummed up. All right. Ah, yes. And now that I'll be powering this thing up momentarily, remember, high voltages exist on the analog board, so definitely something if you're not comfortable working with high voltages, then you'll probably want to leave working on analog boards, possibly even the internals of the compact Macs entirely, to someone who is qualified and comfortable. Because while I'm going to leave the cover off, but that means I'm going to be very careful in doing so, but I am still going to attach screws to make sure things are grounded. Actually, sorry, I'm off screen because I'm trying to make sure the ground is in place. There we go. I think this Mac 512K may be missing a few of the screws, so I may be figuring out what some of these screws are at some point. When I actually put it back together all of the way, I can put all of these screws back in it. But for now, I'm just going to put enough screws in to make sure that it's grounded. So there's a ground wire that goes to the rear chassis from the analog board. And then there's this metal thing here on the corner. And then I'm going to screw in one of the two screws to hold the... Nope. Well, I was going to screw in one of the screws to hold the logic board in, but I realized I don't have the right screws. So instead, I will put the screw here to make sure the analog board is secured in two spots so that it does not this does not feel like the correct screw for that spot. Oh, there we go. I had it in crooked. There we go. I'm putting that one there just so that things don't slide away that I don't want them to. All right. All right. Let me get the... So, I did not remove the ground wire that's on the corner of the CRT. So, so the CRT is grounded. I know when I was looking at the Mac Plus, there was a concern I'd unplugged it, but actually I'd left it plugged in. But it is attached, so there's the wire. It's still attached here. So we do have a CRT ground. Just thought to avoid confusion, I would go ahead and proactively mention that yes, the ground wire is attached. That is a necessary wire to have attached. I don't know what happens if you don't attach that, but it couldn't be good to have the CRT ungrounded. That kind of seems like a bad thing to have the CRT ungrounded. All right. This is the point at which I wonder if I can maybe... No. I was thinking maybe I could point my webcam down. Oh, here we go. Maybe this will work. Maybe if... oh, here we go. This might actually work. So let me take this box that it came in. And now you can probably see what I'm doing here. So if I set the 512 on top of this box, now at least you can see the screen, and or at least part of the screen. And I think you can also still see, yeah, at least enough of the analog board that if something happens. All right, it's not the best angle, but well, it's good enough for government work. And since Eric went to bed, I think I can get away with saying that. Because if Eric was here, he would probably, well, I mean, he might agree that, yeah, that's good enough for government work, but he might also then point out that, no, actually, for government work, you'd need 3 competitive bids, and you'd have cost limits, and I am making sure that the AC is unplugged, or my smart switch is off, which it is. All right. Okay, so I just turned the power switch on in the back, but my smart outlet is off. Because I am backing up just a little bit in case something happens. All right. 3, 2, 1. And nothing. All right. It be still dead. Alrighty then. Well, I guess, of course, now I have to assume that things did charge up and there could be high voltages present. Yes, the fuse is intact. I'm sure that's something the chat's saying, and I have now made it hard to see. You know, I guess there is one thing I could do. All right, so this might be a bit untraditional. So I'm going to go turn the overhead light off because I want to see if the flyback transformer is doing anything like working or whatnot. So, all right, so if the flyback transformer is doing anything, it might be possible to see that it's doing something it shouldn't be. And then this is like where I'm going to draw the stream to a close. But this will at least tell me what might be going on. So, anyways, we might see something going on, we might not. So, here's the flyback transformer right here. So, I will at least move the Mac just a little bit. All right, so 3, 2, 1. All right, I do not see. Okay, I don't see the flyback doing anything, which is probably good. I do not see. Okay, I do not see a filament though. I don't think the filament's glowing. All right, well, I bet there's a shorted component on the power supply. All right. All right. I do have to now assume that the power supply did actually charge up. Although hopefully if it did, it's bled off. But I'm going to, well, I'm actually going to very, very carefully remove it from the workbench. And by very carefully, I mean by the metal frame and the front cover. All right. Let me get it out of the way. Very carefully. I don't recommend that procedure. However, I think I have evidence that would lead me to believe that it didn't even produce any high voltage. I don't have a probe that can measure high voltage, so I don't know if there was any high voltage on it. Tom Armstrong says the CRT is a big glass capacitor and 3 people to watch the quality while one does the work. Yeah. Sad. Oh, hi, Sloopy. Sad boop. I didn't see any tube glow. No star on the PSU. I didn't hear anything on the PSU. Anyways, it is like 12:15, so I am going to draw the stream to a close because, well, I want to make sure I get enough sleep tonight to travel tomorrow because I need to go pick up mystery boxes on the way to Retro Tech Chris's. So, anyways, well, we replaced capacitors on the analog board. Given the state of a number of them, it looks like some of them were leaking, so that was going to be necessary. However, it does appear as if there's probably something shorted on the analog board or failed. The optocoupler might actually be my first suspicion. So, yeah. So, anyways, maybe I'm going to be finding some of those optocoupler parts. Or maybe I should probably check diodes and whatnot. Might also check to make sure I didn't put a capacitor on backwards. But anyways, so we recapped power supply. Did see leaked capacitors. Got the leakage cleaned up from under them. All right. No change on the power supply. Thomas says something around the transformer. Yes. That was the one thing I didn't get to, was reflowing the heavy component solder joints. So, yeah, optocoupler or PWM chip. Yep. So, anyways, that's probably where I'll start. I'll reflow joints, but I'll probably look to see if I could just go ahead and order some optocoupler and PWM chips, because I do have the first Mac Plus that also has something wrong with its analog board. Although I think, if I remember its problem, that board is powering up, but has an obvious problem where I don't think it's generating a high enough voltage, because I think this, if I remember, the screen was blown out. It was like everything was like large. I mean, you didn't see the whole picture, but it was like larger than it should be, which I think is a sign that the voltage isn't high enough on the CRT, so it can't like focus down. But I'm trying to remember from a couple months ago when I looked at it. So the good thing is the smashed Mac Plus works great. So at least I do have one of the older Macs that actually works. And Adam's going to send me a new shell, so it one day will look the part. And luckily, that also might give me something to probe and like test some of the components and like, okay, well, here's how it measures on the good board. Compare it with the bad board. And maybe I might be able to figure out what components going bad. But anyways, I'm going to draw the stream to a close because I want to go ahead and get to bed so I can get sleep tonight, so I can travel tomorrow evening after work. Plus, I also need to throw some stuff in the dryer because I started a load of laundry before the stream, which is why I was a few minutes late, because I had to make sure the trash went out, and I did a load of laundry because for reasons which might become evident, I wanted to make sure my red polo shirt was clean. It might have something to do with how the mystery boxes looked on Facebook Marketplace. I'll let your imagination run wild there, unless you've watched Gutbomb's video, then you might know exactly what I'm going for. Thomas Armstrong says, if the yoke moved back on the neck, you'd get that. Okay, so maybe that Mac Plus, I need to make sure the yoke is in the correct position. That is good to know. I didn't realize that could be the, I didn't realize that the yolk could, oh, there's one last thing we need to do. Thank you for reminding Jeremy. All right, so before you go, everyone, let's wish Jeremy a happy birthday, because his birthday is on Monday and I won't stream again until Tuesday. So that for at least once we can give him wishes early instead of late. Happy birthday, Jeremy. Yes, thank you for reminding me. So, yes, everyone, wish Jeremy a happy birthday if you want. Please do. He's a great guy. That way we can at least, it won't be belated birthday. So, yeah, happy birthday, Jeremy. I'll spare you the singing. But, yes, so anyways, let me see if there's any other announcements so I can delay closing the stream for a couple moments to let folks give Jeremy some birthday salutations. Oh, I guess I can. Oh, that's right. I did not knock my note to myself off the workbench. So yes, I do remember I wanted to go look for header pins. So I guess that's another reason I need to draw the stream to a close. So I can have a moment or two to put header pins where I'll remember to take them tomorrow. So, yeah, so anyways, happy 44th birthday, Jeremy. With that, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day or evening. I hope to see you all next time. Some of you, I'll get to meet you Saturday if you're at the System Source Repair Workshop. And hopefully I do remember to put computer in my car, because that'll be a shame. I definitely want some second opinions there. But anyways, have a great rest of your day. Hope to see you next time. So take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.